Yeah, and in fact, I think Tom Suozzi even used the I word, invasion, at one point. And when you tie this into how the Democrats sort of successfully portrayed the Republicans being obstructionist on what I thought was a very bad border bill, tactically, are the Republicans in danger here of getting outplayed on this issue?
In danger, yes. It's certainly a long way until November, and they have a lot of opportunities. We are leading in what's called the generic ballot. I say we, the Republicans. That's when you just ask people, are you tending to vote? You expect to vote Republican or Democrat? They're up by 10 or 12 points on that nationwide, which is really, really good for Republicans. Put that in sort of in context. In 2010, during the massive Tea Party wave, that generic ballot was about 8% pro-Republican. So there's some good numbers for Republicans, but they are losing these special elections. Special elections are always outliers. They always have a chance. It's usually low turnout and huge sums of money. Nearly, I think, $50 million was spent on this single race. So it's not necessarily a trend, but it's certainly got everybody's attention.
Yeah, I think some people in Victoria around Dunkley are going to be talking about these sort of special elections over the next few weeks. But I want to move over to this Russia issue here, which I thought was absolutely fascinating here. A top U.S. official has warned of a serious national security threat around a potential nuclear capability in space that would violate the Outer Space Treaty and potentially be destabilizing. But I found the politics of this fascinating because I remember back in 2021 when Biden's top spokesperson mocked the idea of a Space Force.
They asked whether the president has made a decision on keeping the scope of Space Force.
Wow, Space Force. It's the plane of today. It is an interesting question. I am happy to check with our Space Force point of contact. I'm not sure who that is. I will find out and see if we have any update on that.
I mean, I thought that was very, very glib given what's happened now a couple of years later. But what's your take? And how much of this is politics? And how much of this is stuff that we should really be concerned about, some new Russian capability, do you think, Mick?
Yeah, James, I'll give you some inside information because I'm here in Washington. I've been talking to people on the Hill the last 24 hours since this story broke. There's a lot more politics on both sides of the aisle here than people realize. People are telling me this has more to do with the politics of the foreign aid bill, money for Ukraine and for Israel, and for the FISA bill, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and that this was sort of promoted by a Republican pro-FISA, pro-Ukraine member to try and drive a discussion in favor of funding for Ukraine and for extending our Foreign Intelligence Act and so forth. So there's a lot of politics here on both sides of the aisle. By the way, in the last hour or so, the White House has confirmed that this does deal with nuclear capabilities of the Russians in outer space. It's a very serious deal. But I talked to a member of the House Republican Intelligence Committee yesterday, and he said he saw the exact same materials. It's important, but it's not immediately pressing. He said this is not a clear and present risk. So I think your gut feeling is probably right. This has more to do right now with politics than real capabilities.
Yeah, that's, I guess, on some level a little bit reassuring. But let's move back to domestic politics here. And South Carolina, where Tim Scott has joined Donald Trump on stage amid rumors that he could possibly be a Trump running mate. Now, they were campaigning in South Carolina ahead of the GOP primary there next week. What do you reckon? Is he a shot for VP? You know Tim Scott well.
I know Tim very well. Again, I'm from South Carolina. I know Nikki Haley very well. By the way, Nikki Haley is losing her home state right now to Donald Trump by more than 30 points with about 10 days left. Early voting has actually started now in South Carolina. Tim Scott, originally, I did not have him on my list to be potential vice president. But keep in mind, he had the perfect excuse not to endorse Donald Trump until after South Carolina. Nikki Haley literally gave him a Senate seat about 10 years ago, and he affirmatively chose to endorse Donald Trump before the South Carolina primary. To me, that's a giant sort of flare that says he wants to be the vice president. So I've now added him to my list. My list is Elise Stefanik, a white female member of Congress, Kristi Noem, a white female governor of South Dakota, Ben Carson, a Black American former member of the cabinet, and Tim Scott, the Black American senator. So that's my list of 4 potentials right now. Tim Scott was not on that list just 2 weeks ago.
Big news there out of South Carolina. Mick Mulvaney, thank you so much, as always, for your time.